Hello there, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I'm Giselle and I love posting fashion, beauty, and lifestyle videos here on YouTube. Man, I miss saying that. I miss this platform so much. Not being on it as much has really made me see how much I truly love it, and I love connecting with you guys. So let me know in the comments down below how you're doing, how you've been spending the summer, which is winding down already. I cannot believe that we are in August. Time is just flying by, but let me know how you guys are doing. And to all the recent, I should say the more recent subscribers, thank you so much for joining. Please bear with me. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for your patience. It has been a bit of a journey, okay? I have a lot to share with you guys, which I will be doing in the upcoming videos, but for today, I thought we could kick it off with the second episode of my Christian Dior's La Collection Privee review. If you haven't seen the first episode, I'm gonna link it down below. Maybe there's a fragrance in there that you guys are more interested in. But for today, episode 2, we're gonna be reviewing another 7 fragrances, okay? So we're gonna be breaking down the notes, first impressions, of course the dry down of these fragrances, and longevity, okay? So we've got quite a bit to get through. Grab yourself something to drink, something to munch on. If there's a fragrance that you're interested in that I haven't mentioned in this one or first episode, let me know down below. I'm gonna try my best to get my hands on it. There's quite a few that I haven't been able to, so I think I'm only gonna have maybe like 1 or 2 more of these reviews for La Collection Privee. But if there's a fragrance that you're interested in that I haven't gotten to yet, let me know down in the comments below. I will try my best to get my hands on it. But for now, go ahead and sit back and relax, and let's dive right in. Before we start, quick caveat on this review video. Just as in the last one, you guys please remember that this review is subjective. Fragrance always sits differently on everyone. So I highly encourage you to try these fragrances out for yourself. This video is meant more to be informative, to help you guys understand the impression of the fragrance, how it sits, how long lasting it can be. But I truly highly recommend you guys, if you can, to try and get your hands on these and test them out on yourself, because I'm going to be talking about a few that sit very different on me and different people, and I'm gonna talk about that as well. But it's just important to kind of have an understanding of the fragrance, and then you can decide if you want to take that next step to like actually have it tested on yourself. But I thought it was important to put that out there because, you know, these reviews, these fragrance reviews, you always have to kind of take them with a grain of salt, because just because a fragrance sits on me or performs on me in a certain way, that may not be the case for you. But enough of all that. Let's go ahead and get started. So I think before we start as well, it's important to note that the nose of Dior, which used to be Francois Demachet, and I hope I did not just butcher his name. If I did, to all the French people watching, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. But Francois Demachet officially retired as the nose of Dior, which I have to say is just the end of an era, because there's so many fragrances that he made that are now iconic. Like the first one that comes to mind is Sauvage, and that's part of the men's collection, but it's now such an iconic fragrance. It's like every man that I can think of has probably either smelled it or owned it. I know my boyfriend has it. He loves it. It's one of his favorites. So it's just really sad to move on to a next chapter, you know? But even though it's a little bittersweet, I'm a little excited because the new nose of Dior is Francis Kurkdjian, and I hope I didn't butcher his name too, but Francis Kurkdjian is mainly known for Baccarat Rouge 540, which that fragrance kind of took over. It was all over social media for a very long time. People still love it and refer to it as their favorite, but he is now the nose of Dior. And his debut fragrance with the collection is, the newest fragrance is Dioriviera, which of course we're gonna kick it off with Dioriviera. We have to, it's the latest fragrance. And I have to tell you guys, I have very mixed feelings about this fragrance. The notes are very simple. It's just fig and rose. Just fig and rose is in there. This fragrance, when you first smell it, it is beautiful. It's very signature of Francis Kirk de Jean. Like, it makes sense. When you smell this fragrance, if you're familiar with Baccarat Rouge 540, you smell this fragrance and you're like, it makes sense. This fragrance, it's very beautiful. It starts out very delicate. You get this really nice rose introduction, and then it gets a little sweet, not too much. Like figs, if you're familiar with fig, then you know figs are sweet, but they're not overly sweet. They're not exaggerated sweet. So you get that. You get this nice rose, then you get this kind of caramelized, slightly sweet note of fig, and it kind of warms up the rose a lot. And then it just kind of settles and it becomes very intimate, very personal, meaning that it doesn't create this like aura of fragrance. It's very like, get a little closer to me. The first impression of this fragrance is beautiful. During my last purchase with Hanane, which if you guys haven't seen the unboxing, check it out below. But she gave me like a hanger to put in the closet, and she like drenched it in this fragrance. And when I open my linen closet, that's the first thing that I smell. It gives you this really beautiful, clean, fresh fragrance. It's very, I think it's perfect for like the lighter months, like the summer months. I think it's very nice. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to the dry down of this fragrance, which if you go on the Dior website, there's one person that I've seen review it, and I understand where they're coming from, because the sample of it is one thing, and then when it sits on you, it's very different. This fragrance, it's definitely not a fragrance that mixes well with skin so far from what I've seen and heard. So this is definitely one that if you're interested in it, you definitely have to try it out. The dry down to this on me was like a very light floral, a little sweet, but then it just got powdery, like completely powdery. It definitely pulls feminine with like a slight musk. Like it's supposed to be, this whole collection is supposed to be unisex, of course. I did try this on my boyfriend, and it also sat powdery on him. He did not like it at all. And he agreed with me. It smells totally different in the bottle and in the sample, and then when you put it on your skin, you're like, what happened? Like, at least on us and on that person that reviewed on Dior.com, it did not work. Unfortunately, which makes me really sad, because unfortunately, regardless, it wasn't long lasting. It didn't create this like nice aura. I like fragrances that have like either a bit of an aura or have this kind of like, you know, slightly close to you, I can smell it. I don't like when fragrances like you need to put effort into picking up the scent. I don't like that. I like to be able to pick it up, whether it be like a little subtle or like a little bit like in the vicinity. That's what I like. Unfortunately, this fragrance was very disappointing to me. I thought that this fragrance, if it smelled exactly as it smells in the sample or like in the bottle, I'm in 100%. Like when I first smelled this on the sample, I was ready to purchase a full size of this fragrance. I was blown away. I loved it. I thought it would be a beautiful addition to my collection. Then I tried it. Then my boyfriend tried it. And then I read that review of that person on Dior.com, and I was like, man, okay, so it's not just us. Like, it doesn't just sit different on us. Like, on us, it got really powdery, and you couldn't smell the rose, you couldn't smell the fig anymore. It was just powdery, like grandma powdery. And, you know, I understand that fragrances will dry down into that powder, but to get to that point where you don't even recognize the original scent, that's a no-go for me. So if you guys have this fragrance, if you've worn it, if it's different on you, if it actually smells the same, let me know. I would love to know that this fragrance just was not a total flop. So if you have it, again, please let me know. But yeah, that's my review on the Dioriviera fragrance. I really wish I had better things to say about it because I had such high hopes for it. I was so excited for it. I loved the packaging, the marketing, all of it. I loved it. I loved it. But it wasn't for me, unfortunately. All right, so the next fragrance that we're going to cover is Cologne Blanche. I believe that's how you say it, Cologne Blanche. If not, let me know the correct pronunciation down below, you guys. But this fragrance, the top notes are orange blossom, violet, amber, powder, and like a bit of like skin. There's like a bit of like a skin scent enveloped in this fragrance. I have to say, when I first sprayed it, the first thing that I got was like a bright orange blossom, and then I got this really nice amber to go along with it. I thought it was a very interesting mix of having orange and amber together, and then it just kind of transitioned into violet, and then the amber came back to take over, and then it became a little powdery and then a little musky. That was like the whole first impression, like me spraying it and just whiffing it. Like a lot is going on in this fragrance as soon as you spray it. I like when you spray a fragrance and you can pick up on the different notes and the different layers in there. I really like that intricacy of a fragrance. So that was the first impression. I was impressed. I liked it. I liked the flow of it, how it just kind of like had these like little back and forth play with the amber. I really liked it. Now, the dry down, a little different. The dry down was very clean, very powdery. It kind of muted a lot, and it kind of smelled like almonds, which I thought was interesting because I just kept smelling and I was like, man, this smells different. This has like a very, and it was almonds. It smells like almonds, which is it was very, very faint though. It's not like the scent completely transitioned and turned into something else. It was very, very faint. And then it just had this very nice, clean, fresh scent to it. And then the violet came back and just kind of lingered on the skin. The violet reminded me a lot of like baby perfume. You know what I'm talking about? That like baby cologne that's like violet, and it smells very clean, but it's also like a little addicting, but it's like very light and fresh. That's kind of what I was getting here. And then after that kind of wore down a little bit, then it just had this really interesting like skin musk like scent. Like if you've smelled fragrances that have that like skin element to it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like very muted, very like clean with like a little musk. Like the dry down to this fragrance was very, very interesting. Now in terms of longevity, unfortunately, not great. And you definitely need to reapply it if you want to experience the fullness of the fragrance again, meaning like if you want to smell the orange blossom, the amber, all of that, you definitely need to reapply, because with the dry down, all that I could pick up from that was the violet and like the skin musk was all that I could pick up from the dry down, which that's what makes me that's the one thing that I hate the most in fragrances, is when they don't keep the full scent and then only certain notes stand out at the end, because I've found that even when you reapply, they never smell the same as they did with the original spritz. So I always look for fragrances that don't really change, that kind of smell the same, unless when you reapply you get the full experience all over again. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case with this one. But it's also a very nice summer fragrance. It's very light, very clean. I love the play between the orange, the amber, the violet. I think it's a very interesting fragrance, very unique to a collection. So if you're looking for something a little different, you may want to check this one out. I wouldn't mind owning this fragrance. So, you know, it's going to be on my radar. I really like the play of the notes. But yeah, if you guys have this one, which I think this is one of those fragrances that's a little popular. If you guys have this one, let me know down below. I'm interested in knowing how it sits on you. I found it very interesting for me that the violet is what really lingered on my skin the most. That's never happened with any other fragrances that I've had that have that element of violet in it. So let me know if your experience is similar to mine with this one. Alrighty, now moving on to the next fragrance. I have to say, this I believe is the fragrance that so far out of all these reviews has impressed me the most. This fragrance was never on my radar. I hadn't even heard of it before. I think that's why it had such an impact on me. But the fragrance that I'm talking about is a spice blend. I have to say, this fragrance completely wowed me. And I do believe that so far, aside from Gris Dior, which I'm going to be reviewing in a bit for you, aside from Gris Dior, I believe this fragrance to be probably the truest to the concept of a fragrance being unisex. You know, I go like this because fragrances will usually pull one way or the other. You know, a fragrance is unisex because anyone can put it on, but certain notes tend to lean a certain way. This fragrance truly, I believe, in my opinion, is completely unisex because of the notes. So here we go. The notes in this one are rum, cinnamon, pink and black pepper, ginger, bay leaf, and amber. You guys, does that not sound like the Caribbean? Listen, if Captain Jack Sparrow wore cologne, I truly believe that this would be it. Like, this fragrance is, I just think of the Caribbean when I hear of all those notes. It's just, you guys, this fragrance is beautiful. It's probably going to be the next addition to my collection. I put it on and I was immediately blown away. Like, the first impression was wow. But right off the bat, you smell the amber, the ginger comes in, and the cinnamon. The cinnamon has such a beautiful effect in this fragrance. Then the rum comes in, makes it a little boozy. It smooths over that spice from the cinnamon. Then you get the bay leaf. The bay leaf adds this really wonderful earthy note, and it just tones down that spiciness from the pink and black pepper. And there's just like a little nice spark from the pepper in there that kind of cuts through the booziness of the rum. It's such a beautifully formulated fragrance. I have no words. I smelled this and I couldn't believe it. I just kept smelling it and smelling it and smelling it. I put it on my boyfriend and he loved it. He really loved it. I think this would be one of those fragrances that if I buy, we would share because it's just so nice. And what really sets this fragrance apart is the ginger. On my skin, the dry down was phenomenal. The ginger cuts right through the booziness of the rum and all the spices, and it just gives the fragrance this nice brightness, this nice slightly citrus effect. It's just nice and bright, and it gives the fragrance this certain layer. And I love that because you can wear this fragrance for day or night because of the ginger. If you guys are familiar with Origins, I believe they also had a ginger fragrance. I remember smelling it a couple of times and just thinking like, wow, like this is beautiful. Anybody could wear this. This is how I feel about this fragrance. Like, it truly, I think this fragrance would be completely different if it weren't for the ginger. Now, I pretty much believe that this fragrance, it reminds me a lot of, what's the name of that fragrance? I believe it's called Jazz Club from Maison Margiela. Now, in terms of scent, they're nothing alike, but what I mean by that it reminds me of that fragrance is because more women wear Jazz Club than men, even though the notes are like rum and like booze and things like that. More women wear it because of how it sits and how it smells. It's completely, like, that is truly a unisex fragrance. That's how this fragrance is as well. Like, you have to try it, you have to let it sit on your skin so that you see how it works. For me, the ginger just did such an amazing job of really controlling the other heavier, spicier, thicker notes, and it was like it just went like this, like phew, I'm ginger, I'm coming through. I loved it. So the dry down on me, right, the amber and the rum, they create this very sensual vibe on the skin. It's a little boozy, it's a little flirty, it has this like little je ne sais quoi kind of element to it, and then that ginger cuts right through that. It gives it this nice brightness to it, and then you have the bay leaf. It just kind of anchors it, gives it that nice earthy, slightly musky scent, and it just becomes very, very well rounded. And the more you smell it, the more you enjoy it. The more you smell it, the more you pick up on the different notes, and it's just truly, truly such a phenomenal fragrance. I don't think I've smelled a fragrance that's that well layered, and just how it sits and how it interacts with my skin. I just blown away. If you can't tell already, I was blown away with this fragrance. I couldn't believe it. Like, I still have the sample, and I'm trying not to finish it because I know that once I do, I'm gonna want it so bad. So I'm taking my time because you guys have been seeing my unboxings. You guys know that I've added quite a bit of fragrance to my collection already, so I'm trying to chill out. But this fragrance, she's coming. She's definitely coming. I'm definitely going to be adding it to my collection eventually. But what really, really impressed me the most was the longevity of this fragrance, because of course you can be blown away immediately and then have the dry down and the longevity just completely shatter your dreams. Like, that's what happened to me with Dioriviera. I thought that was it. Couldn't be further from the truth. But with this fragrance, the longevity is just, it's such a beautiful dry down. And what really, really, truly impressed me is that I didn't lose any of the notes. I could still smell everything, you know. It lasted for hours. The booziness, the spiciness, the sensualness, the slightly muskiness, like, it was all there, and none of it was lost. And I just, if you guys haven't smelled this, you need to. I think it would be such a beautiful gift, such a great addition to anyone's collection, because it's so different. It's so different from anything else that I've smelled that I want it. I want it so bad. But yes, that is Spice Blend. I'm gonna stop now. If you guys own this one, let me know. I don't think that this fragrance has gotten the love that it deserves. Like, I had never heard of it until I got a sample. So I hope I can put this on your radar, because this fragrance deserves all the love. It's just, it's beautiful. And by the way, if you hear that munching in the background and you're new to my channel, that's my dog. Nikita will always chew her bone while I'm recording. I don't know what that's about, and I'm sorry if you hear it, but what can we do? All right, now moving on to the next fragrance, Gris Dior. Now this one, I own it. I am a proud owner of this fragrance. It's such an interesting and beautiful, beautiful fragrance. So the notes in this one are jasmine, bergamot. There's notes of humid undergrowth. It's a little floral and it's a little woody. So I'm pretty sure that humid undergrowth kind of raised some eyebrows. We'll get to that. So this fragrance was very, very interesting. I was first introduced to this fragrance at an event that I was invited to by my essay Hanane, which, if you're new to my channel, Hanane is beautiful, beautiful to work with. I adore her. She and I have quickly developed a really just close, tight-knit relationship. She supports me 100%. She loves that I'm on YouTube and making these videos. She's actually who provided all these samples that I'm reviewing with you guys, all these fragrances, because she asked me if I wouldn't mind doing something like this. So thank you, Hanane, if you're watching. I love you. But she was the one who invited me to this Gris Dior event, because Dior had a moment where they were really promoting this fragrance and kind of giving it a spotlight, which it so well deserves, because this fragrance is very unique. The first impression of this fragrance is very interesting. Each note layers on the skin, but it's also constantly changing, and that adds so much mystery to the fragrance. So if you guys aren't familiar with the backstory, back when Francois de Mache was the nose of Dior, he was asked to create a fragrance that would be or could represent the color gray, which was Christian Dior's favorite color. And this is what he came up with. So at this event, I was allowed to take a friend, which was just phenomenal. We had a blast. I posted a short on that, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen. But it was funny because we went and we got just drenched in the fragrance head to toe. And after a couple of minutes of letting it sit, she and I were blown away because the fragrance smelled completely different on both of us. On me, the earthy notes came out. It was very earthy, musky, smoky. Like you could really pick up that element of like gray, mystery, you know. That's what it smelled like on me, which I was blown away with. I love fragrances that have that earthiness to them. I love it. They pull a little masculine. I love that. Love that. But on her, the fragrance was completely different. And this is what really impressed me about it. On her, you could smell the jasmine, you could smell the white florals in there. It was very floral on her. That's all you could pick up, which like that's really what blew me away, like the difference in how a fragrance can sit on the skin. And I was just like sold. I bought one. I bought one right then and there, which I also have an unboxing down below. At the event, they had a painter that was painting the prints on boxes for the packaging. You guys have to see that. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. You're gonna be blown away by the packaging. But anyway, fast forward to Gris Dior. The first impression of this fragrance, the more you smell it, the more you want to keep smelling it, because every time you sniff it, you pick up a different note. Sometimes you'll smell the bergamot, sometimes you'll smell the jasmine, sometimes you get that earthy smokiness out of it. And then you're just like, what's going on with this fragrance? Like, why is it changing so much? And then the dry down, like I said, different on everyone, because my friend literally smelled like a bouquet of white flowers. Like she just smelled beautiful, crisp, clean, very light, not overwhelming at all. Like just very like fresh out of the shower clean. Like she smelled beautiful. But on me, it was a little floral, but really smoky, very earthy, musky. It smelled a little like worn in, like if I put it on, went to bed and woke up and like that's what I had left of the fragrance. Yeah, it just smelled like slept in. Like I slept in my boyfriend's t-shirt, kind of slept in. Like, but I love that. I thought that was so unique and different that I bought it. So needless to say, the fragrance is long lasting. It's also very consistent in how it smells. So once it sits down on the skin, the smell that you get, that's the smell that will constantly be. You do not need to reapply this one, which is one of my favorite elements of it. You can, if you want to get that like constant change in fragrance again, but you don't need to reapply. The fragrance will continue to develop the longer that you wear it. Eventually on me, it just smelled musky. It lost like all the other elements, and the longer I wear it without reapplying, it just stays really musky, which I like. It's very like but you know, I would definitely say this is one of those fragrances that you want to test out for a while. You want to test it out like when it's really hot, when it's not so hot, just to see if you would like it long term enough to commit to purchasing one of them, because of course the Collection Privee is pretty hefty in price. So because of how constantly changing this fragrance is, I highly recommend that you wear it and test it out. But I don't believe that this is a fragrance that would disappoint anybody because of how versatile it is with all the notes. Like my boyfriend likes it. He's worn it a couple of times. He enjoys it. I adore it. I'm very happy that I added it. It's definitely a unique fragrance. I think it would be a beautiful gift as well to anybody, because you just know that that will be their signature certain scent. Like once it dries down on them and they know what it is, like that's their signature marker with it. So I think having a fragrance like that in your collection that's that different is beautiful. All right, so moving on to The next fragrance, I believe this one is probably one of the most well-known fragrances for La Collection Privée. I think this one may just be the best-selling fragrance, honestly, because, or not the best-selling, but maybe like one of the most well-known, just because of the scent. So of course I'm talking about Ambre Nuit. I think a lot of people own this fragrance. This one has quickly become one of my favorites in this collection. Personally, I was never a fan of amber before I smelled this. To me, amber anywhere else, it just smelled like overproduced and just like too chemical and overly sweet. I was never attracted to amber anything until I smelled this fragrance, Ambre Nuit. So this one, also two main notes, just amber and Turkish rose. So it's a very warm floral. This fragrance really does just speak for itself. It's now a new standard for me when it comes to amber. Like, this is it. Like, if you're talking to me about amber and you like that fragrance, you need to smell this. You will never see amber the same again until you smell this fragrance. Like, if you think you love amber and you haven't smelled this fragrance, you don't even know what you're missing. That's how strongly I feel about this fragrance. It is beautiful. It is the perfect balance of amber and rose. It just smells like a boss, you know, like I picture the CEO of a female CEO in a company just smelling just like this. It's a powerful fragrance, but it's not overwhelming. It has just the right blend of sensual with floral, without being too much of anything. It could really just be a signature fragrance, a signature everyday fragrance. It's sensual, but it's delicate. The dry down is very classy, perfect for every day. It's incredibly aromatic as well. Like, it's one of those fragrances that you can smell from quite a bit of a distance. It's not overwhelming, but it does leave a bit of a trail. I will eventually add this to my collection. I just, for now, I have my eye on so many other fragrances that I want that it's just, it's crazy. But if you are someone that loves amber, you will love this. They also have the amber candle, which I've heard nothing but beautiful things about. I think eventually I may just get one, probably in the fall. But this fragrance is just beautiful. It smells exactly the same as well in terms of longevity. You do not need to reapply it. You can if you want to, but it just develops beautifully on the skin. It does smell the same, which is one of my favorite things about it, that it doesn't change. It just, you smell it and you know that that's what you're smelling. It's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. If you guys haven't smelled this one, you need to. Even if amber isn't your thing, you need to smell it. I think you will be greatly, greatly impressed by it. If you guys have this one, let me know. Also, let me know if it sits differently on you. On me, like I said, I didn't lose the amber or the rose. It was just a very nice, perfectly well-balanced fragrance. But if it's different on you, let me know, because I am curious to see if maybe this fragrance is one of those that's just like a standard baseline, or if it does develop differently. So let me know. But moving on to the next fragrance, we're going to be talking about Vanilla Diorama. This fragrance, you guys, if you are someone that really likes vanilla fragrances, you need this in your collection. Okay, so the notes for this one are Madagascar bourbon vanilla, which my favorite vanilla of all time. There's rum in this, there's patchouli in this, there's citrus in here, and cocoa. So right off the bat, this fragrance is a little mature. I wouldn't say that this is a fragrance that would attract the younger crowd. It's a very mature and intense fragrance. Like, right off the bat, the vanilla and the patchouli, boom, strong, in your face, front and center. But then the citrus comes out a little bit, and the cocoa provides a really interesting contrast with it. It gets like a little booziness at the end, and I think the bourbon helps with that. But it's just a very interesting fragrance. It is very, very powerful. So if you're not someone that likes that very strong, like in your face commanding fragrance, this may not be for you. But this fragrance is very, very interesting in terms of vanilla. I've never smelled anything like this. The dry down to this, it's very, very vanilla-y, which I would hope, with that being the name, that that's how it is. But the patchouli and the rum, they really smooth out, and the rum helps the vanilla stand out. It's a very complementary note. It's like the rum kind of pushes the vanilla front and center, and then the cocoa adds a slight creaminess to the fragrance that just kind of makes you like enjoy it. Like it makes you think of like a fire. It makes you think of like a fireplace and like a warm blanket and like just cozying up. It's a very, very transportive fragrance. Like you smell it and you start visualizing things. I'm telling you, this fragrance, it's not one that I would add to my collection because I'm not a fan of vanilla fragrances in that sense. Like this fragrance is very, very powerful. So not in my realm at all, but it is very long lasting. I will say that. You can reapply if you want to have that full experience of all the notes, but if not, it's okay. You don't need to. At the end, it just stays vanilla-y. It gets really creamy, and it just has this really nice dry down and just play out of fragrance, but it is very strong. Like even the dry down and the longevity, it was a very, very potent fragrance. So keep that in mind with this one. I do think it was executed beautifully. You get this entire movement with this fragrance, right? It's fully sensorial, right? That's how you say it, sensorial. Yeah, it's a fully sensorial experience with this fragrance. You get transported, you get some memories in there. Like it's a very, very nice fragrance to just wear, especially if you want to have that fragrance remind you of something specifically. This would be it. But if you're not into strong fragrances, if you're not into fragrances that kind of take over, avoid. This is not for you. But overall, I'm very happy that I got to try it out. I was always very curious about it because of the vanilla in it, but I think in terms of execution, beautiful, 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 beautiful. So if this one smells like something you would want, don't even question it, try it out. Alrighty, you guys, now we are down to the last fragrance of this video, and I'm very, very excited for this one. This one is the Jasmin Des Anges. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, let me know how to pronounce it down in the comments. This fragrance is another one that really, really impressed me. I also want to add this one to my collection. It is jasmine and honeyed apricot. So this fragrance, you guys, it's stunning. It's a very beautiful, beautiful fragrance. It's jasmine done right for me, in my opinion. Usually fragrances that have jasmine tend to pull a little too old lady, if you know what I mean. It's just, jasmine is another one of those notes that's very overdone, highly synthetic, a little too extra, and just like super, super grandma, you know what I mean? Like I've never really cared for jasmine fragrances because of that, but this one is jasmine done right, okay? It is fresh, it is floral, and it has this really nice bright juiciness from the apricot, but it's still light, perfect for everyday wear. It's very chic and unique. It's very different. Like I definitely want to add this to my collection. I think it would be a beautiful, beautiful summer fragrance. I don't know what it is with the apricot lately. If you guys saw my L'Occitane unboxing, you'll know that I got the Osmanthus body wash that also has apricot in it, and I'm like obsessed. I love it. I think apricot and fragrances really do add this beautiful, fruity, but not too overly sweet, and like juiciness to a fragrance that just really transformed the whole dynamic of it. Like the dry down to this is really, really just beautiful and juicy. It's very fresh with the apricot. And then the jasmine kind of goes to the background instead. And I think it's just perfect for summer because you still get that floral from the jasmine, but it's not front and center. It's more so the apricot, at least on my skin, what really came forward and just really lingered. And it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, I will say this fragrance, in terms of longevity, it's not the best. After a couple of hours, I did have to reapply, but it does smell the same. It's not one of those fragrances that when you reapply, it starts smelling like too much of one thing and not enough of the other, and or vice versa. Like, it definitely smelled the same. I didn't lose any notes when I reapplied it. I got the jasmine, I got the fruitiness of the apricot, and so I was very impressed with this fragrance. I wasn't expecting to like it, again, because I'm not a jasmine kind of gal. But this is another fragrance, just like the Ambre Nuit, that kind of set like a new standard for me with that scent. And yeah, I loved it. So if you have this one, I think Jasmin Des Anges is one of those that's very popular. I know the candle is also very popular. So if you have this one, let me know how you feel about it. Let me know if it sits differently on you. I'm always curious to see if fragrances have like a super different dynamic effect on different skins. So let me know if you're one of those people that had a different experience with it. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope it gave you a little bit of clarity or cleared any doubts for you. And if you guys want to chat about a fragrance or two, hit me up down in the comments. Also let me know if there's any other fragrances that you're interested in that you would want me to review. I'm still working on trying to get a couple samples of other things, so hopefully I'll have another one of these up for you fairly soon. But if you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And I can't wait to post another video for you guys. Again, I've missed this. I've missed you guys. I've truly enjoyed just connecting with you guys and getting to know you. So please don't be shy. Hit me up in the comments and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, you guys. Bye.